Good morning, everyone. Started off with my glasses on because I was doing my study first, but I'll take them off for a second. It's a nice day in the neighborhood here. Won't you be my neighbor? I have a few neighbors around, not too many. This is the weekend, but last weekend was the big weekend, the blowout weekend, 4th of July. So I think a lot of people are recovering. And last night, I guess a lot of people hadn't used up all their fireworks because there's a few that went off. I hope you're careful of your animals when you're doing that. They don't like it. They don't understand it. Okay. Well, it was a fad when I was growing up that you had to have a life coach. Status symbol. If you had one, it's like, who's your life coach? Well, mine is so-and-so. And name dropping was also big. Who you hung out with. It's not what you know, but who you know. Well, early on, I kind of watched that and kind of tried to figure out how I could get into that because I was nowhere in their status level. And then I became a Christian and I realized, well, name dropping, I know God. And my life coach, Jesus. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Jesus is our life coach. Why not go to the source, the Creator? He's got all the answers, knows what we need. Nobody's up yet. This is crazy. It's eerie. I don't know what time it is, but it's not different from my regular time. There's no sun this morning because we're overcast. I don't know if this is a thick fog or clouds because it's just all one great big gray haze. Sometimes life is like that. Okay, now we can put these on. I started off with them on because I don't just jump right into the Bible. I could, but you want someone who's prepared, someone who's already had his coaching for the morning, and coffee in hand. You wouldn't want to listen to me if I hadn't had my first cup of coffee. And this is a big cup, so I've already drank the first half. Okay, so we're going to turn to Psalm 118:24. Start your day. Your life coach will tell you how to start your day. The world will tell you to start your day with Folgers in your cup. I am drinking instant, but I don't know whose brand it is because it's a store brand. Store brands are legitimate brands, but they just put their label on it and don't charge as much. It's a good deal, so I could be drinking Folgers, I don't know. We know all kinds of stuff about coffee because they advertise. Did Juan McGill handpick the beans for this? We've been watching commercials all of our life if we've been watching TV. And I'm an expert on TV, inside and out. I used to repair them. I know I'm off on a tangent again. I used to repair them. The old TV sets had tubes in them. And you'd take the back off, 4 screws, look in there, and you'd have to unplug the power to make sure the power's off. And you'd pull the tubes out, and there's a guide on there. Shows you a little diagram of where the tubes fit on the board, or it's usually a little box. And you take them down to your local, it was equivalent of a Kmart or a Walmart. I don't know what they were back then. I don't know. Even the supermarkets had them. There'd be a little station, kind of look about the size of a video game station, and you'd turn the dial and put your tubes in, and it would test them. So I'd get the job of doing that because I played with things and took things apart. Eventually learned how to put them back together. So start your day with Psalm 118:24. This is the day the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. I'm only going to give you one verse per topic here. I could give you 100 for all these, and we'd be here all day, and you'd leave 5 minutes in. But start your day right. God made this day. Rejoice and be glad in it. And what was this one? Oh, I couldn't read my own handwriting until I read the verse. You've got to start your day with a good morning breakfast. You don't have to have a standard English breakfast, although those are good. But God, I want to go back to bed after I've eaten one of those. I usually eat light. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll make some toast, cook an egg, break the yolk, otherwise it gets messy, and put it on the bread, and I've got an egg sandwich. That's all I need. Maybe instant oatmeal. I get those packets sometimes. There's a lot of sugar in those, so when I'm not camping, I will get the big old-fashioned oatmeal containers, and I'll make some of that. And then I can put a little honey and butter on it, and I'm happy. But God has given us this day. I'm just going to read on in 25. Psalms is always good for reading. Say now, I pray, O Lord, I pray, send now prosperity. No, I'm not going to be one of those prosperity preachers, but if you don't have it, ask for it. Jesus says you don't have, but you don't ask for it. Ask in my name and you will receive it. I told you there's other verses we could throw in here. I'm just not going to list them all. So you start your day right, and you have a proper diet, starting with breakfast. However, in Matthew 4:3, we will find what you can eat and what you can't. Now, Jesus had just done his 40 days and 40 nights of fasting. You know the story. Now, when the tempter came to him, the devil, and said to him, if you are the Son of God, as if there was any doubt about it, but he's prodding him. If you really are the Son of God, command that these stones become bread. Now, if you stop and think about it, Jesus could have commanded those stones to become bread. Why ask him a question? If you can turn this elephant into a cat, why don't you? You're not going to ask somebody to do something if you're tempting them that you know they can't do. Jesus could have turned those stones into bread. I have no idea how, but apparently he could. And then Jesus answers him and says, it is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. So yes, you got to have your morning breakfast, but you got to have your morning word of God too. Those go together. And that's from Deuteronomy 8:3, by the way. So it's been, that instruction's been around for a long time. It's a bit of a breeze this morning. I got to hold on to my paperwork here. Now you also have to have number 3 on my list. 1 is start your day. 2 is a proper diet. 3 is you got to have an attitude adjustment. No matter who you are, you got to tweak it a little bit. Talked about TV. Sometimes they have some little controls on it. You go in there and turn them back and forth until you get the fine-tuning that you need. Well, your life coach, Jesus, knows how to do that best. Now, we don't go in and start knocking things off. You know, some of us have rough edges and they need to be chiseled off or sanded off. But Jesus knows how to do that, so it's okay. So for our attitude adjustment, we're going to go to Philippians 2:14. Do all things without complaining and disputing, that you may become blameless and harmless, children of God without fault, in the midst of a crooked and perverse generation. This was written thousands of years ago, and it still applies today. And when people tell you the Bible is old and no good, no, it's still good. It is old, but man hasn't changed in thousands of years that God could write how to behave and have it still apply. Let's see, where was I? In a crooked, perverse generation, among whom you shine as lights in the world. We're lights, so don't hide yourself under a table. Hold fast the word of life, so that I may rejoice in the day of Christ, that I have not run in vain and labored in vain. That's Philippians. I'm going to turn over to what was it? Philippians 4:6. This is part of your act. I didn't have this written down, but as I was reading, I often read before and after I use a verse just to kind of keep things in context. But if you turn over to Philippians 4:6, which is, for me, 1 page over, be anxious for nothing. In everything by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. Attitude adjustments. How to live your life. Okay. Then if you were to listen to Arnold Schwarzenegger, he will tell you to start your day with exercise. Well, we need to exercise, but I've got one that I kind of laugh at. We know we're supposed to exercise for 18, where is that? 4:8. 1 Timothy 4:8. For bodily exercise profits little. I like that. So for couch potatoes, here's your verse for you. Bodily exercise profits little, but godliness is profitable for all things, having promise of the life that is now and of what is to come. Godliness is the key. Now, I don't think Jesus sat around and didn't do anything. They didn't have TV back then, so you couldn't really be a proper couch potato without TV. I don't even know if they had couches back then. It's a piece of furniture. They probably had chairs. People weren't supposed to lounge around. They're supposed to work. But I think that's funny that we've got exercise profits little. But we're also told that God will strengthen us, so got to kind of figure that one out for yourselves. Like I said, we're starting to say Jesus would not have been able to overturn the tables of the money changers unless he was strong. He would not have been able to endure 40 days and 40 nights of fasting unless he was strong. So he walked everywhere. He'd go to the temple, he'd go to the Mount of Olives, lived in Nazareth, other surrounding areas. He'd live wherever they would let him stay sometimes when he's traveling. He had to be in good shape. So that's just a joke about not exercising. Okay, and finally, our life coach really cares about us. So we're going to turn to 1 Peter 5:7. Casting all your cares upon him, for he cares for you. Now we could get into all the love verses, John 3:16 and all the others that talk about loving us. But here it is right here in 1 Peter. He cares for us individually. You can't say, well, all this stuff is for other people, not for me. Everything in this book is for the world. Yet, in spite of the fact that this is for the world, he deals with you individually. He knows what your needs are, your desires. He's got a perfect plan for you. With the billions of people that are here now, I think we're at 8 billion roughly, out of which maybe 1 to 2 billion are Christians, and that's questionable. He knows every hair on your head. And if you're bald, he knows every cell on your bald head. Why do some men have baldness and others don't? I don't know. We're all created individually. The story of Samson wouldn't work if he was bald. But he made each one of us individually. He knows us inside and out, including in here. He knows what we're dealing with. He knows as we get older, our bodies start failing. I'm sure that Moses, even though he didn't get to go down into the land of milk and honey, they probably had to help him because he was at the end of his life. It took Noah 100 years to build the ark, and I don't think he started until he was 600. I think our body used to regenerate better before the flood. One, you live longer. I see the old actors today. Some were very good in their day, but today they probably couldn't act because they're in their 90s. Clint Eastwood's in his 90s and he's still directing, but he looks like an old man now. He doesn't look like that macho man. He still directs the same way, quietly. He doesn't call action. He looks at the actor and says, okay, go ahead. Yet he, with that quiet demeanor, he plays tough guys. Whether it's Dirty Harry, go ahead, make my day. I didn't say that right. Go ahead, make my day. Other actors, let's see who else is out there. There's a lot of actors that are in their 80s and 90s. A lot of them in their 90s. A lot of them have lived to be 100 or close to it. William Shatner's in his 90s. He and Nimoy were the same age. Their birthday was like a month apart. But Nimoy smoked and he ended up with COPD, and that's what killed him. Behavior that we have when we're younger can lead to weakening the parts of the body that we need when we're older. So have the right attitude early, whether it's diet or indulgences. All these people that we grew up watching on TV. Oh, and as I was talking about TV, not only did I work on them, and I know how to, I've actually built a TV. I bought one. I signed up for one of those electronic courses when I was in the Navy because I was bored. And we built a TV. Okay. It tells you step by step how to put it together, how to test it as you're going. It wasn't a good one, but I got to do it. But I've been on TV, so I know both sides of the screen. And what you see when you're watching is an illusion. The people that are what's the word I'm trying to get to? Portraying. Okay, I need another cup of coffee this morning. The people that are portraying these characters, the characters are written for them, most of them. Acting if you've got the talent is one of the easiest jobs in the world. They tell you where to stand, they give you your clothes, they feed you, they tell you what to say, how to say it, and you just got to get up there and do what they tell you. And you wait in your trailer until they need you. They got everybody else running around like little bees or ants, setting things up, and then they send someone to come get you and they escort you in. You say your lines, to be or not to be, that is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of trouble, and by opposing in them. Now, poorly acted for that quick demonstration, but that's all you got to do, and then you go back to the trailer. Wait for them to set up the next scene. Now, there may be rehearsals and all this other stuff, but it's an easy job. And in my old age, I've gotten lazy. I don't want to have to work hard. You look at actors like Tom Cruise, who's got to prove something every time he goes out. That's his Scientology mentality. It won't get him to heaven, unfortunately. Him and John Travolta are both heavily into Scientology, and it makes him a better human being on earth, but it won't get him to heaven. You don't get there by good works. And that's sad too, because they need to learn to be a good Christian. Our life coaches can teach us to be just as good as they are. But they think it's all on them. So that's why they try harder. Tom Cruise can be very unpleasant on set because he thinks that his whole life depends on how well he does. And if anybody impedes him in doing that, he can get mad. Off set, he's fine, but on set, he's a hot-headed person. I'll leave it at that. I talk about actors. How am I doing on time? Yeah, we're good enough. I could wrap it. Let me just, quick story, but I tell my two Tom stories on the extremes of what you're going to find with an actor on stage. Tom Cruise is on the volatile side. You don't talk to him, you don't have anything to do with him. If he directs you to do something, you do it with him, or by whatever he tells you to do, you do. The one on the other end is Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks is laid back. He's comfortable with his work. He's a good actor, so he doesn't have to. He may do a lot of prep and mental prep and stuff inside, but you don't see it. He doesn't bring an attitude with it. I was in a scene with him in Sully. That's the pilot that landed in the Hudson, but he did the movie and he played Sully. And I'm in a a bar scene where I'm just walking in and out of the bar. I'm just a background guy. That's all I want to do with these professional guys. I don't want to get in the union. I'm anti-union. But anyhow, I'm just walking in and out the door, and you're going to miss me because the one take that they didn't do the way they were supposed to is the one they use, and they've missed me. They were late. So I'm already walking down the street away from the bar. But anyhow, as I did this like 20 times, walking past them, and eventually, and we'd stand inside waiting, and I was talking with Tom Hanks. Just general talk. And he goes, okay, they're cueing me, I gotta go do my bit, I'll be right back. And he goes out and answers the phone in the scene to his wife and comes back in. And he initiated the conversation, or reinitiated it, where we left off. Just in and out of character, didn't bother him, he could talk to people. Now, it was a simple scene. If it was complicated, it would have been different. But all the stuff that he does, he's talented, but he doesn't bring an attitude with it. So, I guess that's a good example for life. Whatever you do, don't bring an attitude, unless it's an attitude of love. Listen to your life coach. He's got it all figured out. Till we meet in the clouds. God bless. Can't get too much closer here. The ground is wet. In these shallows, it's probably only 3 feet. People go out in there and they play in the water. But it's a cloudy day. I don't see any rain on the radar, but it's keeping it cool today, which is good. Have a blessed day, everybody.